Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. Our guests tonight are Scott Hamm Duenas and Kipp Tribble from the movie Rebroken, which is premiering on demand March 27th. Guys, congratulations on the film, and thank you both for being here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Let's just
Thank
get
you.
right to it. This is an incredibly good film. It keeps you
Ah,
captivated from start to finish. You don't see what's coming. You're trying to figure out the characters the whole way through. This is definitely not a cliche film where you can sort of basically speak the next person's line before they actually tell them themselves. So let's get right to it. Now, Kip, according to IMDb, the story originated with Scott, but you're the one that actually wrote the script. Is that accurate?
Correct. Correct.
Now, when it came to the way that works, tell us how it works. I'm not really familiar with it. So, Scott came up with the conceptual idea of the story. You had to turn it into a working script. How did you guys do it for this film in particular?
Yeah. This film in particular, Scott had an idea for a film, um, and basically put down some stuff on paper and sent me some pages and said, "Hey, what do you think about this idea?" Kicked some ideas back over to him. We kicked that back and forth for, I don't know, Scott, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, something like that.
mhm.
And then that the idea for Rebroken started to take shape, a little bit more shape. It deviated, a good bit. It took a few turns, but kept the core idea of what Scott had there on the page. And then he said, "Hey, you know what? I've got a little window of time. You got a little window of time. Let's do this thing." And so had a couple weeks to really put my nose to the grindstone and crank the script out, and did that. Kicked it over to Scott for some notes, and to our director, our great director Kenny Yates, for some notes, and did a couple
Rebroken is
drafts, and there
born.
we go.
Uh,
There you go. There's Rebroken.
Now, Scott, the film centers around loss, grief, group therapy. What would you say was the driving force that, inspired you to come up with this idea?
Yeah, well, thanks. And thanks, John, for having us in that wonderful intro. And I'm so glad that you like the film,
I
man. That
really
just
did.
that really makes me feel good. And yeah, Kip pretty much nailed the way that this whole thing started. And yeah, it kind of started with this idea of, well, for me, I think with it's so hard to describe these things sometimes too, because we don't want to give away the ending or give
Yeah.
away what kind of happens. But I recently just started having little ones myself, and I had this small daughter who I'm super attached to. And then watching certain stories or certain movies has become really, really hard for me. And I couldn't imagine the grief of a father or somebody or family going through the loss of a child or a daughter or something. And it just was striking me so hard and so like emotionally. And I got this idea of like of it must be like a groundhog day, living the same day over
Yeah.
and over again, missing your child or missing your loved one, whether they're gone forever or just gone in a divorce or something. And start take that kind of thought that I was going through and turning it into this idea of making an entertaining story, an entertaining movie, and that's really kind of how it was born.
Nice. Now, Kip, the key characters of this film, I would say, are Brian, who is played by you. Scott plays Will. Of course, Vaughn and Bella. Now, tell us the most interesting relationship is Brian and Bella's relationship. What do you want to share about those two? Because they are very critical to this story, but also very mysterious. What can you say about Brian and Bella?
Man, oh man. What to say about Brian and Bella that won't start giving things away.
I don't know. This is
It's
a
such
tough
a
one.
it's such a difficult film to talk about.
It
It's like
is.
we're good up until about the midway point of the film, and then it's difficult to talk about. But Brian is, especially when we initially meet him, he is all about helping, anyone in the group. He's bought all in on going through his own motions, and on his level of grief is different from some of the others, as he experiences it day to day in his work as a police officer. He sees these sort of things every day that plague him. So that's why he is there. And he also is taken upon himself to really be helpful. And, you see him setting up the snacks for the group. He's very active, and he's immediately drawn to Will, and wanting to pull whatever is inside Will, out to get him to open up and to speak. And so, Brian is kind of Bella's right-hand man, so to speak. And then, Bella, as we come to learn, has some of her own motivations there. And she and Brian, we see their relationship is much deeper than we initially had thought. And I really don't know if I can go too much deeper
Exactly.
than that.
You're so right.
Away.
You're so right about this movie. And when I was coming up for my notes for tonight, the way I decided to do it is up until the story starts to unravel. I sort of tucked that away and based my questions on everything that happened before that. So I think that would be the best way to approach, because we definitely don't want to give away any spoilers. With that in mind, Kipp, did you ever feel that the reason that Brian gives for being in therapy is not on par with everybody else's?
Exactly, and that was a bit by design. There's a little something a little bit more off with him.
Mm-hmm.
And also with Bella. There's such a mystery about Bella and her motivation for being involved in this, and both of those were by design.
Nice.
And then as we also then dive in and get to know Lydia a little bit more, played by the great Nigel Okoro, we learn about her grief, which is similar to Will's, and that's what brings the two of them together. And then Lydia is a catalyst of sending Will along his, discovery of, finding Vaughn, and then
his path.
And his path, exactly. So those were by design, and we found those moments. What was really interesting with this film, especially, and huge credit goes to Kenny Yates here, our director, is once we got into the editing process, I did the first cut of the film, and then Kenny and I sat down for several days in a row and just basically started ripping scenes from the end and putting them at the beginning, and vice versa, and just started shuffling these things around.
Yeah.
And we would spend sometimes 2 hours just kind of staring at the screen, deciding where we're going to put this one scene. And Kenny was really crucial in finding those beats, and where to just hint at the mystery, and where to start revealing certain things, and those relationships. A lot of Lydia's stuff happens later in the film, in the script, but now we see it's very heavy in the first act that sends Will on his path. So it was a lot of fun in the editing, frustrating but fun at the same time.
Now, Scott, take us inside Will's head, which is a mess, by the way. How does he view the relationship between Brian and Bella? What is going through his mind as he very closely watches those two and tries to figure what they're about?
Yeah, it's I liken it to Will, who is a reluctant, participant in this group. And I was thinking about it the other day when we were talking about it, and I said he's like the guy that has to go to Alcoholics Anonymous but doesn't think he has a drinking problem. Yeah. So he's there, but he's not fully invested in this and what they're doing. And seeing these two, it's not that they're ganging up on him, but he definitely sees the connection, and he's just not sure about it. He's not sure about Kipp. He's not sure about this group. And again, like you said, it's so hard to not to talk about it, because we have to watch what we say. But and I hate saying that. I was telling Kipp the other day, I'm like, I don't want to sound like that guy that's sitting there going, I can't talk too much about the movie. I don't want to give it away. But in this instance, it's really, really true. Mm-hmm. You have to be careful not to give these things away. But I do look at as because as someone that's been in these groups before, there's lots of times that these things are court ordered or people are kind of forced to go there for one reason or another. And I felt that that's where Will's journey was. And it was, we ended up writing it that way into the thing that he's there, but he's not there. You know, it's does well, he want to actually... Sometimes he might want to participate, sometimes he doesn't. And then you start to think as time goes on, do these people, that classic thing that addicts or people going through grief or people, is everybody ganging up on me? Or these people, you know, do they have it in for me? Like, why is this guy he's like the, I looked at the Brian character, like he's the kiss ass of the class. He's the kiss ass in high school. He's the teacher's pet. Yeah. And that Will just sits back there in that silent, like, look at this guy. He's just like everything that I'm not. I don't want to be here. He wants to be here. He's kissing up. I don't like the teacher, and that whole dynamic. And then with her, it's just, I think there's a lot of pent up aggression towards her, and it gets worse and worse as these relationships start to develop inside of the in the meetings.
And a great credit needs to be given to Allison for her portrayal of Bella. I mean, just the non-dialogue facial expressions that she gives throughout the film, she doesn't need to say anything. I mean, those alone could send shivers up your spine because you're trying to figure out what's going on in her head. Now, Scott, was it intentionally left ambiguous as to why Will being in that group was court-ordered? Because it's not really explained.
Yes, it's not really exactly. I think yes. I think we had talked about maybe diving into some reasons for it, and then we just in the independent films and in this story, I feel that we really didn't want to get so like caught up or start drowning in exposition and start drowning in like the backstory to everything. And I felt like that the audience and that we were okay with it not being totally explained why he's there. Yeah. And then with the way when it turns out to be what it is when the film's over, I think then that also makes it extra okay that we didn't explain exactly why he was there.
Exactly.
So yeah, it I like the fact that we did leave it out. You know, we address it in little teeny drips here and there when they have to sign the papers or when someone mentions it. And, but yeah, it was kind of intentional. We felt, I think it was probably too much to bring on to start diving into that backstory as well.
Yeah. We pushed a little bit on the formality and that he has to go through, you know, with a court-ordered situation. So we did play up that aspect a bit.
Yes. And like you said, it does come together very nicely. Yeah. Now, Kipp, when Scott approached you with this idea and you started putting pen to paper, was it decided right from the beginning that you would play Brian and Scott would be Will?
Yep.
Is that?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's cool. Now, Scott, the great Tobin Bell, of course, who a lot of people know as Jigsaw from the Saw franchise. He has a really nice sized role in this film. His character is very important to this story. Scott, tell us first off, how you got Tobin to get on board with this project.
First of all, we owe him so much, and we are so very lucky. And that's one of the things. Me and Kipp are both producers on this, and that we have experience as actors, and there's things we have some relationships with managers and agents. And Kipp, I believe, produced the movie that he was in before. And as we were going through like a wish list of people, you go through your big wish list, and then you make your little wish list of people that you think maybe you could get. And so we did. I mean, really, it was the old-fashioned way. When his name came up, myself, I was like, oh my God, if we could get Tobin Bell, I would be so over the moon, because I know he's Jigsaw and that's what he's famous for. But for me, I love him in stuff like The Firm and In the Line of Fire.
Oh my God. You know, when I think of Tobin Bell, the first movie I remember him from is The Firm.
Yeah, he was amazing in that. Yeah. And my favorite scene, I think, in The Line of Fire, I love that movie, is his scene at the open of the movie where he plays the first criminal that Clint Eastwood and Dylan McNerney go after. Yeah. And I love that scene so much. So to get him was fantastic. But anyway, so we just really, we pitched it to his reps, and we sent them the script, and we put on paper like listen, we're small, but we're very professional, and this is a great script, and Tobin would be fantastic, and he would be treated with. And they got back to us pretty fast, and she said Tobin liked the script. Yeah. He'd love to do it, and we were just over the moon, like we said. And then he showed up and was just like no shock. But
it was phenomenal.
Just such a consummate professional. He came in, he knew everything. He was fantastic to cast and crew, and he was a dream, man. That guy was a dream, and he was on fire, off book, and just in it. And
he was great, and just definitely want to give Kate, his manager, a shout out. Yes. She was the one who really facilitated it. Got to know her a bit on the other film, and she really brought him in support. Nice. So now, special shout out to her.
Let's talk about his character, Vaughn. Wow, talk about a complicated person. Did you find yourself, when you were writing out his story, his dialogue, did you find yourself second guessing on which direction to take Vaughn?
Second guessing might be the correct way to put it. It took a lot of different forms. His demeanor, the dialogue. There's so much that he says that is a reflection of what Will is going through. That is important to get on the page, but then you don't want it to just be these lengthy monologues and too much exposition. And there was a bit more in there that didn't even make it in the film, which we knew it wasn't going to. In that situation, it's you can always cut down. You can't cut bigger. Second guessing, I wouldn't exactly say that. I would say finding the right tone and the right direction in. So there were a few different directions that we went with him, and then getting the notes from Scott and from Kenny, and kind of sitting and distilling those notes and with the right approach, and we finally found the right element.
So it sounds like, from what Scott said, Vaughn, his character was already written before you knew for sure that Tobin was going to play the role.
It was, it was actually originally going to be a female character, and we had we really liked
Nija for it. If we were really considering her, because it was going to be more of like the mysterious, foreign, almost like a gypsy or witch type of character maybe. And then when we knew we had a shot at Tobin, that kind of changed
everything. And as the writing of it started changing, we had this Lydia character, and then we started, our eye was on Nija for that, and then that character started to take form. Once we knew that Nija was going to be involved, we kind of built that character around her.
Absolutely. Now, Scott, with any movie dealing with somebody suffering from a traumatic loss, a tragedy, like Will is, you gotta really nail it with the audience. You gotta make the audience feel the pain that the character is feeling. In this case, your character, Will. I think in Rebroken, the moment that I felt Will's pain was when he was so easily willing to accept Lydia's idea of maybe they're not lost. You know what I mean? Which, because he really accepts it. And for me, that just shows how completely lost Will is. He's willing to accept this notion that he's not based in reality anymore. He's willing to accept the fact that when somebody has passed away, hey, maybe they're not passed away. Maybe there's a way to get them back. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great point and thought. Yeah, I think we all, when it comes to dealing with grief or somebody getting ill or something, it's the finality of it, I think, that maybe brings these things on, because you just go through life, and I think we all kind of think everyone's invincible and we're going to live forever, and you don't really take that time to think that maybe one day someone that you love is going to be gone, or maybe one day someone that you love is going to face the prospect of not being on this earth anymore. And then when it hits you, or if it's a slower process and it's hitting you and you're going through it, like, man, this person might not be with me next week, or this person was just with me a week ago. I think it almost, then it leaves you searching, like, are they ever coming back? Am I ever going to walk into the room and see this person again? Am I ever going to
How am I going to
get a
live?
text or a phone call? And then if somebody gives you that hope that maybe there is a way, and I think that we are easily drawn to that. Lots of people. I mean, look at the world of people, psychics, whatever you think of that. Like, it's a huge business, and if you think that they're helping, or if they're preying upon people going through loss, whatever your opinion is of it, it's an easy thing to tap into someone's loss, because you want them back so bad that, and then the fact that you find somebody that has the thought process of you, or the same feelings that you have about it, and it's like, that's the person I want to listen to and align myself with, because that's the person that's giving me hope. Not all these people over here who are saying get on with your life, or move on, or
she's gone, get over it.
I want these people that are saying I have a chance. So everyone can go a different way, and yes, Will definitely goes that way very easily, because it's his daughter, it's his little baby daughter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we purposely, in the scripting of it, had Lydia just a few steps ahead of Will in her journey, in her process. But the fact that they'd gone through the same thing, and he sees, he perceives her happiness. He's like Scott just said, you're in that situation, you're willing to try anything.
Exactly. I want to be in the position she's in, especially since she suffered a loss similar to mine. Now, Kipp, I want to throw the last question out to you. I really enjoyed how you guys took your time in doing the big reveal in the final act. Okay, you didn't rush it, save it for the last 3 minutes. It was laid out very nicely, as part of production and post-production. For me, I don't know if it was because Tobin Bell was in this film. It reminded me of the ending of the Saw films, how they do the big reveal with the music playing that ties the whole film together. Like I said, I don't know if it was because Tobin Bell was in this movie, but it did sort of throw me back to that. And I really enjoyed how you took your time in revealing the whole reveal. How was that whole process like, writing it and actually shooting it?
It's interesting you say that. That was something that we had never discussed as far as the Saw films. The Machinist was a big inspiration for this film. Memento, we didn't exactly mirror how they started revealing certain things, but they were certainly inspirations. In the script, it was, meant to just be something that hits you the last, couple pages, and then that's it, drops it on you and then walks away. And again, credit to Kenny to, really building upon that idea, in the post-production process and in the directing of it. And then there was some more stuff that was shot for that ending that didn't make it because it didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
We get the idea. It's just the right balance. But the whole intention was to have this mystery and this puzzle that everyone is trying to piece together. And everybody's going to have a different idea by the time you get to the end. Some may be right, some may be wrong, probably don't have exactly the same idea as what really happens. And then it just hits you there at the very end, and just, and then we walk away and let you think about it. So that was the intention in the scripting process. We built a little bit on that in post, but it was a fun thing to build, and that was probably what took the longest, was that ending and building that structure.
You could tell, because like I said, it showed that you guys took your time, you did it right, you didn't rush it, and it really comes through on the screen. This is the kind of movie where you guys have to come back a year or so from now so we can discuss it after the plot, has been out there for a while, and we can get deeper into the story. I want to thank you guys so much. The movie is called Rebroken. It is available on demand on March 27th. It's still a little over a month out.
One little correction. It's actually March 7th. That's
Oh,
the
March
only, yeah,
7th. Okay.
yeah. They so
Okay.
a two slipped in front of that 7 there, but
Yeah.
it's actually March 7th that we're going to be
Good.
wide.
That's a whole,
Thank you.
3+ weeks that it's coming out sooner. So
Exactly.
check it
Exactly.
out March 7th on demand. You guys are going to
Yep.
love this film. I want to thank our guests, God Hamm Duenas and Kipp Tribble, who not only wrote the film, produced it, they're also the stars. So check it out. I want to thank our audience, those of you guys who are tuning in live and those who will be watching this later on. On behalf of Scott, Kipp, and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Good night, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
John.